All right. Good evening, everybody. So the purpose of tonight's lecture demo is to help you with your last assignment, which is a fun assignment, and personally, it's my favorite part of the course, where you create your own application and build your own chatbot. All right. So this is an agenda. What is a chatbot? Key benefits, right? Some terminologies, and then we're gonna apply the key terminology to discuss the BMI chatbot application. Then some tips, tricks, etc. Right? Question and answer. So some of you, okay, this is an important reminder. Okay, this is very important. Your chatbot must be ready 2 to 3 days before the assignment due date. It's because you need to collect the conversation data. There is an experiment. There is an experiment where you need to send, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. There is a URL that you're gonna give to your friends or your family members, or actually you can also give the TA, and they are going to run your chatbot that you create. And the chatbot internally will collect some data, and the experiment, you need at least 2 days, all right? Now, then your IBM Cloud account must be active, which is the case for most of you, right? You do not enter the credit card number. This is important, right? You do not want to submit any ticket unless an instructor or TA tells you to do so. Do not deactivate your IBM Cloud account, right? So, and then before you do anything, before you work on assignment, you have to take that chatbot key concepts. It's an auto-graded quiz, and it's in the course content, and you must obtain at least 70%, okay? So you may take the quiz as many times as you want, but bear in mind that you may see some different questions. Questions could be in a different order, and also answer choices in different order. Otherwise, we would not let you repeat, right? If we give you the same questions, then you would not be able to repeat the quiz. Now, if you look at the chatbot walkthrough, there are some ungraded exercises, but you have to do them in the same order as they appear in the document, because, for example, suppose that you have exercise on page 3, everything that comes on page 4 builds on what you do in exercise 3. Like, for instance, exercise could be asking you to create a node, right? Something like that. Then that node is going to be used in the rest of the walkthrough. Or sometimes exercise, the purpose is to show you a problem, and later in the walkthrough you fix that problem. So you need to do this in order, all right? Then for actual assignments that you're submitting, you need to develop your own application, right? You cannot submit Mr. Cold, you cannot submit Mr. BMI, you cannot submit the example about pizza that is used in the readings, right? You cannot submit anything that is posted online. It has to be your own. So think about what you're gonna do, right? You want to pay attention to the deliverables, right? So everybody here knows how to count until 2, right? You have to submit 2 files. One of the files is a JSON file, and your work cannot be graded without it, because your JSON file will be used to validate the work that you create. Now remember that deletions cannot be undone. If you delete something, right, it's gone, and there is no way to restore. And here, the only mistake you can make is not asking for help. You know that I like the codes. All right. So, and another thing is no plagiarism, right? Remember that this is important. You may notice that some terminologies is used interchangeably in the readings, because they keep on renaming the interface component, application interface component. So skill and workspace is the same thing. Assistant response and respond with is the same thing. And also wait for reply is the same as wait for user input, okay? So these two terminology here is used interchangeably. That's the reason I mentioned. Okay, well, you'll see it as you start working through as you start working on the walkthrough, you're gonna see, it says this on the screenshot, but in the interface, I see something different. So some screenshots could be slightly different, that's what I'm saying. Now, what I was talking about, what is a chatbot? Basically, it's a system that understands the language, right? It has some intelligence, and it just developed to solve the specific problem, right? But on the other hand, a bot is just solve something automatically based on predefined rules, right? But the chatbot is different. It's basically you interact through it, right? You provide specific input. What are some examples? If you look at it, there are some examples in the customer service, e-commerce, and content delivery. So there could be something like frequently asked question and answers, or it could be something like a quick payment, quick customer support, right? Well, something like that. But the main idea behind it is that you don't need to call an agent. You don't depend on office hours. You can just go at any time you want to. If you have access to the internet, you just go in and use the chatbot. You don't need to wait for the representative, etc. So here it is. Those are some benefits for the business, right? So customer care improvement, then it saves on resources because you need less representatives, right? And it's also an opportunity for service integration, right? And it's more like personalized service. So here are the benefits. Well, one is the most important one. You get a 24-hour service. You get quick answers. And also, I would think it's a instant response, and then also it's consistent. Like, for example, if blood pressure 180 by 115 is high, right? It is dangerously high, right? If I enter those numbers, it tells me that it's dangerously high. When Linesh enters the same numbers, he's going to get similar response, right? So this is consistent. And it's very convenient and it's very easy to communicate, right? So, but here it is, this friendliness, for some reason, it's only 9%, right? All right, so now this is a summary of just a little overview. So chatbot is a cognitive computing backend application, right? Well, sometimes it's called agent, right? Virtual agent in this case, in the applications that we're gonna use. When you start the application, right, you're gonna see a greetings, and then in a question, the user responds to a question. The chatbot, it will parse the input and then respond based on your input or ask you an additional question. You're gonna use Watson Assistant service and IBM Cloud for this, right? So you're gonna build an application on specific topic, right? And you're gonna train it, right? You're gonna train. Now, next thing is that, well, this is high-level development steps. You're gonna define a purpose, then you're gonna define the scenarios, and I'll show you. We're gonna go through an example. You're gonna build the conversation flow diagram. So the good news are, as a student, you get a free download of the Visio, right? All of you may have received that email a long time ago. You can get the Visio for free. Or another option, you can also use the Draw.io online application to build the diagram, right? So you're going to use Watson Assistant to implement the chatbot. You're going to train the application. Yes, Amalia, do you have a question? No? I see somebody raised hand. Anyway, okay. Now, well, you're going to train the application through testing the defined scenarios. Then this is conceptual. You do not need to integrate with other services, but you need to discuss. If you were going to integrate with other services, what would you do? You need to discuss, okay? You have to pick two, okay? And also in a week content, there are several videos on integration. Okay, hold on, let me see. I thought I saw the question, but now, okay, chat, okay. Oh, what should we have received in email? Emale, I was talking that as a student, you may get free download for the Microsoft Office. So I'm not sure when, but at some point, the email was sent to students a long time ago. Anyhow, as a student, you can download Microsoft Office for free, just one installation, just one, and one installation of Visio for free. You get that. So if you want to use Visio to develop your flow diagram, so that's one option. Okay. Yes. Yes, okay, no problem, no problem. It's good to ask. It's always good to ask. Okay, now, well, in here, you're not going to integrate with other you're not going to integrate, you're just going to discuss. For the deployment, you're not going to actually deploy it anywhere, but you're going to create a virtual assistant inside the application, right? Inside. And you're going to generate the link, and that's a link that you're going to send to your friends, right? Then we're gonna look at the conversation log. Then you're gonna look at identify the limitations, and you're gonna suggest enhancements for the next application release. Let's call it this way, right? Now, well, this is what we're gonna do today. This is another healthcare application, and it's gonna have several functionalities. First of all, it can estimate your BMI based on the height and your weight. Assumption, height in inches and weight in pounds, right? You don't need to sit down on the web and search for the formula and etc. And you don't need to use your math skills to any computation. You just go use the chatbot. It's free, it's available 24/7. Also, your results are confidential and they're not going to be used in any research. And then the answers are consistent. Like, for example, if Yelena enters 115/75 blood pressure, the bot's going to tell her it's normal. And if Gapati enters the same numbers, it's going to tell her that it's normal also, right? So that's consistency. So now, there is our little doctor's office, and we have 3 doctors that work on duty. And the doctors work on a different time. So this is a Mr. Monitor who works between 12 a.m. and 10 a.m., right? Then there is another Miss Stethoscope, and this is Mr. BMI. So whenever the application launches, you're gonna see a picture of a doctor on duty. And the pictures that's gonna show, it's gonna depend on the time of the day, okay? So hint, time of the day. I'm gonna be using something to identify the time, right? Then you're gonna see this menu. What you want to do. You want to estimate BMI. You want to learn about BMI. You want to learn about blood pressure. You want to learn something about your blood pressure, or you want the system to email you in the information, or you want to exit. Okay. So well, okay. Here are the scenarios, but instead of looking at slides, I can just go in by showing you the link. So guys, don't worry about it. I will show you how to generate this link. I will show you how to do it. But at a moment, I just want to launch the application. So here it is. See this? Well, this is a big picture, what's gonna happen. So this is a Mr. Monitor, right? Because, well, it's looking at what time of the day it is. So this is a guy that is on duty. And he's asking me, how may I help you? And this is select an option. When I click here, this is a menu, right? So now it's asking me what I want to do. And in my case, I wanted to estimate BMI. It's gonna ask me what my height in inches is. And I can enter the number, or I can also spell the number. I can put it as a word, right? I can put this. And how many pounds do you weigh? I can just type in the number. I have several options here. There we go. So now it says that my BMI is 22, healthy weight. What would you want to do next? So it's kind of like repeated the menu, but okay. So now what I want to do is, perhaps I want to see what is the blood pressure. Suppose I don't know what the blood pressure is. See this? It gave me this nice little blood pressure chart. All right. And in this specific case, blood pressure chart is hard-coded. It is hard-coded into the implementation, into the response. This is a link, right? There's a blood pressure. This is an image online. This is a link to an image. All right, and then I can select again. And now what I can do is I can do my blood pressure, right? So now it's gonna ask me to enter my systolic blood pressure, and I'm gonna put this now. So I'm gonna be a little bit elevated, right? So it should tell me that it's elevated, shouldn't it? Yeah, your blood pressure is elevated, so you have to adopt the healthy lifestyle. Now, suppose that I want information to be emailed to me. So now what I'll do is I'm going to enter my email, right? That's my email. I entered my email. So now the chatbot says, okay, thank you. The information was sent to, the information will be sent to this email shortly. Now I'm going to select an exit option. So I'm done. Now here, well, see this? What is this doing? It's showing a different message depending on a weekday. See this? It shows that today is Wednesday. How does it know? Well, we'll find out, right? We're gonna go to the slides and find out. So here, I spelled out this conversation scenarios that I just showed you, right? This is a scenario about the blood pressure, right? So there is some magic behind it. And see here is about the BMI, explaining what BMI is, and it's gonna show the chart, right? So this is just an image, okay? So, well, this is an email information, and also if you enter invalid email, it will pick up. It will ask you to enter the valid email, right? It will ask you to, well, valid means that it has to have it, and it has to have something.com or .edu. There is a validation logic for this. Okay, we'll get to it. But first, big picture first. All right, so now this is an exit. It's gonna show different message. So if it's a weekend, it's gonna show have a nice weekend. But then here, if you have a hypertensive crisis, if the chatbot identifies that you have a crisis, you have to go to emergency room, it's gonna exit the application flow, and you're gonna see this message, and it's gonna say the goodbye, something like that. So you can see the screenshot. I took it yesterday. I took this yesterday, okay, because it was, well, no, day before yesterday, it was Monday. All right, so we got our scenarios. Well, this is a flow diagram. It looks complicated, but basically, well, it's a flow. So you start, right? Then it's gonna show the menu. The doctor on the duty is gonna welcome you and show the menu. And here, basically, if you select estimate BMI, this is the flow that's gonna happen, right? So if you enter invalid number, perhaps you're gonna be asked to re-enter it, right? You're gonna be asked to re-enter it, and it will continue until you may choose to exit. Whenever you ask to enter the number, right? You may choose to exit the conversation at any time. Suppose that you change your mind, perhaps, right? So at any time you should be able to exit. So here it's collecting your information, it's doing the calculation, then it's going back to show the menu, right? And it keeps on going. I just spelled it out, every scenario that I have in here. Okay, so, and some of you actually may end up revising this diagram as you're doing the development, which is fine. Now, let's break it down. Okay, well, what we're gonna do is, when you start development, you're gonna create a new skill. A skill used to be called a workspace. So it's a location in the application where you store all the conversation elements, right? All the dialogue elements. Dialogue elements are intents, and I will explain in detail, intents and entities, right? So, for example, what is an intent? What is the purpose? I want to check my blood pressure, right? I want to check my BMI. I want the chatbot to explain me something. I want the chatbot to email me something. And I want to exit. So this is the intent, something that I want to do. Entity qualifies the intent. Like, for example, explain. Explain what? Explain what blood pressure is. Explain what BMI is. You see that? So this qualifies the intent, right? And also, in this specific scenario, email is an entity, and I'll show you. It's a special case. So here, this is what I was doing here. I was trying to say, okay, estimate BMI, explain, right? What does my blood pressure mean? So, well, things like that. I want to explain. I want to email. I want to exit. So this is an intent, something that I want to do, right? Or it could be in other examples. It could be to turn something on, or maybe to search for something like that. It's an intent. But what do I want to search for, right? Specific, it's an entity, right? It's a context. So, for example, if I have an intent, explain, BMI, it's what I want to be explained to me. So this is an entity. So if you go here, in the application itself, well, I don't know if I should assume, but in theory, you should have started working on your walkthrough. But if not, well, okay, so let's close this out. When you start this application, it's gonna be empty, right? It's gonna be something like my first assistant only, and that's all. Okay, there's gonna be no skills, nothing. So well, you're gonna see this one, just my first assistant. This is something like a template that goes in there with an application. What you have to do is, there's multiple ways to approach it, but I first create a new skill. So basically, skill is where your this is where your conversation elements are, right? So I'm going to show you how to create the skill from scratch, and then I'm going back to show you the BMI implementation. But this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna create new skill. You need to select this dialogue skill, okay? But search skill is an interesting concept, and there are some videos about it. So that's interesting to read about. Okay, so dialogue skill, right? You're gonna do the dialogue, and then you're gonna click on next, and then you're gonna, well, okay, here. This is what you're going to do. Tonight or later tomorrow. I'm gonna give you the JSON file for this implementation, right? For this Mr. BMI. This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna do import skill. You're gonna choose JSON file, right? And you're gonna choose the files that I'll give you tonight and import it, okay? This is what you're gonna do. I'm gonna give you this file, and you're gonna choose JSON file, and then you're gonna import it, okay? Well, it's in my case, it's here, but you know, this is a file. So if I wanted to, I could just do this. Oops, open. Oh, and then I would just click import. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it now, but this is what you will do, right? Oh, or for your assignment, I'm just gonna do create skill. Then you're going to name it, right? Well, I'm just going to, you want name to be descriptive, right? I'm going to put assignment 4 for right now, but you want it to be something that describes the purpose of your chatbot. You don't want it to be generic, right? And then you're going to create dialogue skill. It will create an empty. This is how you're going to start, right? Well, then you're going to start adding your intents, and you can add them from the CSV file, and the walkthrough shows you how to do it, right? Or you can add them manually, right? You just do create intent, you put an intent, you put a description, and then you put an example, right? So something like this, explain, and then you do create, and then you start adding examples. What is an example? Example is basically a paraphrasing. Well, some people can explain differently. For instance, they could say clarify, or they could say something like, what does it mean? You know, it's a different way to say things, right? And then you're gonna add your entities. you're gonna add your entities, right? Like BMI, blood pressure, that's what it is in this case. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the skills, and let's go to the Mr. BMI Health Center, and I'll show you what it's doing. All right, so here are the intents. This intent is for the blood pressure. I want to explain what the readings are, right? I want to explain my readings, what my readings mean. So I'm going to click here, right? Let's see how it's configured. Well, now here, intent name, it will always start with this, with a hash, with a pound sign. It will always start with this. That's how the system knows that it's an intent, right? Description is optional, but I like to enter it. Now here, those are the examples. For example, blood pressure meaning, blood pressure ranges, what is blood pressure, etc. Right? Well, that's what it is here. Now I'm gonna exit, and same thing here. This is a BMI, right? Body mass index, estimate BMI, calculate BMI, etc. So example is it's a paraphrasing, right? Email me. Well, this is a little bit tricky. I want it to be, it's an intent because I want the chatbot to email me the information, right? So that's what it is. May I have a copy? Send me the information, right? But if I send the link, well, in my case, the chatbot is providing the options. Selecting the option is equivalent to typing in the text, right? And I'll show you. Typing in the text that would have triggered an intent, but somebody could have typed something different, right? Or somebody could have typed something that it's not in here, see? So part of the training would be to add more examples, right? Okay, so hold on. Now here, this is explain, and this is a goodbye. Goodbye is the same thing as exit. So, okay. Yeah, okay, good. Anyhow, so goodbye, this is exit. Well, you know, some people could say goodbye, some people could say quit, etc. Okay, so this is a different way to say goodbye, right? But there could be someone else testing the chatbot, and they could enter something else. Yeah, so something like that. Now, here are the entities. I have to explain a few things here. There are two types of entities, right? My entities and also the system entities. My entities is what I create, right? It's what I create, such as an email and a topic. Topic is, it has two values, blood pressure and BMI, right? I put it in the same entities. So explain what? The topic, right? I put it as a blood pressure and BMI, and here are the synonyms, right? Those are the different ways to tell body mass index, body fat percentage, well, etc. This is another way to say BMI, right? So here, this is an entity value. Depending on what value is recognized, right? Something is going to happen in the system. Okay, so this is a synonym. Type, this is important. In this case, is synonym. I'll show you what I'm doing in the email. Type is going to be the pattern, regular expression. All right. Now I'm going to return here. So this is my entity. And here, this is a valid email. Well, see, this type is pattern, and this is a regular expression to match the email address. Okay, this is a regular expression, and this is in the documentation. You may also do the telephone number, but then telephone number will probably have more than one pattern because you have the local phone number and you have the international, right? You can have more than one pattern. But here, see this email, valid email, and this is a pattern. So if whatever you enter does not match this pattern, it's gonna prompt you for the email again. And to make it prompt you for the email again, I had to do something else in my implementation. I will get to it, right? So these are my entities. There is something called system entities. Those are the built-in, right? By default, they're not enabled. You only enable what you need. In my case, I need time, date, and a number, because I'm reading numbers from user input when I'm asking to enter weight, right? Well, here, this is, I'm pulling the day of the week, right? And I'm looking at the time. So I enabled this 3. Okay, I enabled this 3. You only want to enable what you use, right? Because you might run into some conflicts. Like, for example, if you have percentage and number, sometimes when you enter percentage, number will also be recognized, right? So it's just something to keep in mind. You only enable what you need to use. Those are not editable. They start with the prefix sys, and notice that, well, they also start with the @ sign, right? So I'm using this, guys, here just to extract the number from the input, and this one is to get the today's date, okay? So now let's go back to the slides. Well, here, this is what I'll show you that you can use. Well, this is a CSV file. You can import from CSV file. That's another way, right? So, and this is what you're doing in a walkthrough, right? So here I summarized the differences between my entities and system entities, and this is what we're going to use today, right? So this basically is a summary. You can add entity manually, or you can also import them from the file. And this is the file structure. So column A is going to be the entity. Column B is going to be an example, right, of entity in column A. And here, C, D, E, F, etc. Those are going to be the synonyms or an example in column B. That's what it is. And you just import, right? Well, there are many ways to do that. Now we're gonna get to this part, building the dialogue. When you create a brand new chatbot, by default, you're gonna see only 2 nodes. Well, I'll have to go back to that skill that I created earlier today. Well, this is a skill that I just created, right? If I go back here, well, this is a new dialogue. What you're gonna see is just this, welcome nodes and anything else node. Well, let me explain to you what happens. When the conversation starts, right, welcome node is triggered, always. This is what gets triggered when you start the conversation, all right? So I'm gonna click here. This is a node entry condition, welcome. It means that the conversation started. Assistant response, hello, how may I help you? So this is just a message that you're gonna see, right? And it's gonna wait for your response, right? And then anything else, it's like a, well, it's like a default node. Whenever nothing else is recognized, right? So here, what you'll have is it's a structure, a dialog structure. It's gonna check the node entry condition starting from the top. If none of the nodes got triggered, it will go to the last node, anything else, and will execute it, whatever is here. So usually something like, I don't understand, can you try rephrasing, etc., right? So this is given for you now, all right? But what I did for you guys, I did a lot of homework here. Well, let me go back here. This is a dialogue. And I need to tell you, this was a long process. I had to build something, and then I have to retest. Whenever I edit something, I had to retest the whole thing. Okay, so I will explain to you steps. This is a welcome node, right? So I customized it. Notice that this is the main node when I click here, right? So the bot entry condition is welcome, right? Now, what I did was here, this is called the conditional responses. I want to respond differently depending on time, right? So see this now returns me the current time. Well, this is a system entity. Now returns the current time. And this one is checking if now it's after 5 or something like that, right? And if it is, this is what to respond with, right? And I'll show you the details. Basically, I think I may have the picture in the slide. Here it is. So this is what's gonna be here. It's gonna show a different text, slightly different text, and also the different image, right? So based on the time, it's gonna show a different image. So if I look at this, well, first of all, this is called the conditional response, right? And in order to do this, I had to click here, customize, and I have to enable it. See this? Multiple conditional responses has to be turned on. You have to turn it on to be able to do this. And here I'm checking. Now is a system entity, right? And it's checking the time. Now I can click on this gear. I click on this gear to see the configuration for this response. The first response type is a text, right? Well, it's just a text. The second response type is an image. Do you see this? Very important. Your URL must end with either JPG or GIF or PNG. To get the image URL, you may have to open the image in a new window, right? So if you see an image on a web page, you need to right click on an image and open it in a new tab to get the URL. Because it has to be an URL of an image. It cannot be just the web page URL, right? There we go. So see this? There are two response type here. And I can control which one shows first, right? Text show first, and this one image shows next. Here, those are the response variations. So that way, my chatbot is not a parrot. So whenever I run it again, it may show different message, right? Then I can see how I want it. I want to pick it random or I want it sequential. So last time, if it showed the first message, next time it's going to show this, right? Something like that. And here, well, I did not specify anything here. Well, the reason is because I have a child node, right? I have a child node. So whenever the welcome message is displayed, I want this node. I want the execution to come to this node, which is the main menu, right? And main menu says if assistant recognizes true. So what's happening is this. I'm at the welcome node, right? I started my conversation. Welcome node is going to be true. It's going to go through execution of the welcome node, and then is going to drop to this child node, right? It's a child. Well, if it's a condition, entry condition is set to true, it will always do this, always execute, right? After the parent node executes, it's going to come in here. So this is a little bit advanced. So here, this is a response type called option. The way it works is this. In the first column, this is a text, right? Estimate BMI, what's BMI? This is a text that you see when you run the preview. See this? Here it is. So basically, this is a text that you see in this drop down, right? So that's what's in the first column. In the second column is an intent that gets triggered. This is the name of the intent that gets triggered when you select the option from the menu. So this is equivalent to typing this here into the text, right? You could click on the menu option, or you can ultimately you could just type this in, right? If you type the word exit, right? Typing the word exit is equivalent to selecting this from the menu, right? It's gonna fire the goodbye intent, right? And if it fires a goodbye intent, we're gonna go through the set of nodes again. We're gonna check, we're gonna go starting from the top. Is it the first time? Did we just launch the chatbot? No. Is it email me? No. Do I want to estimate BMI? No. Do I want to say goodbye? Yes. So then it's gonna hit that node. If I selected exit, it's gonna go to that node. All right. And here again, I'm doing this, but what is day? I'll show you. This is a variable and I set it. So here, basically, here what it's doing is that it's showing one response if today is a Saturday or Sunday, and another response if it's other than. Okay, let's explain what this is. When you run the chatbot, right, when you have multiple responses, it's going to check the first condition here. And if your entry, whatever you entered, right, or if whatever variable value is, if it matches the first condition, it's going to do this, right? Then it's going to go next row. Anything else means everything other than what's specified above, right? So if it's a weekday, then it's going to show text and an image. I realize, guys, that this is a complex example. You're going to need to watch this more than once. Trust me, you're going to need to read the slides and watch this more than once. It's more advanced because the purpose is to supplement the walkthrough that you have. So walkthrough first, and then this one is more advanced, okay? Because we don't want to be repeating what you were asked to read. Okay, so here, this is how it's evaluating, right? It's checking if the date is Saturday or Sunday, right? Then it's going to do this, otherwise do that. But what is date? Look at this. This is, it's set, I'm setting it in this menu, and this is how you do it. Now is today's time, and this one, reformat date time, and then you put this here, it's going to pull the day of the week, the actual day, Monday, Wednesday, etc. But if you remove one E, I think it's going to pull the day number. So, well, it's like this. And then there is also there is a documentation page, and it tells you what all of this method mean. So I had to do a little bit of digging. So here, what I'm doing is this. I'm setting this is a context variable, right? So I had to do this. See this? Calls contents area editor. You see this assistant response. In this section, I can open JSON editor, or I can do also the context editor. I have two options. So in your walkthrough, I showed you how to do it in a JSON editor, because at the time when the walkthrough was initially written, there was no option to see context. Okay, there was only JSON. So see this? This is what it is. I could do it like this, or I could do this. I can do it this way now. Before, this option did not exist. So that's the reason it's setting the name. In a walkthrough, it's setting the name. It's telling you to go to the JSON editor. But in the JSON editor, your code must be correct syntax, or it's not gonna save, okay? Now, so here it's storing, it's taking the date, right? And this is a date of the week at the time when you hit that node, right? It's gonna store that date, right? Okay, so here, this is a menu, right? So let's go back. I went over this slide, right? And I went over, oh, this is a blood pressure. This is going to be fun. Okay, so let's look at this. Oh, this is the explain blood pressure. Okay, so this node is to explain what the blood pressure is. So let's go back here. Okay, well here parent node, child node, right? So then I have two nodes with a somewhat similar functionality, where I want to explain blood pressure, or I want to explain the BMI. So what we have something called folder, and folder allows grouping nodes with a similar purpose. So this is information on topic. I created the folder, and the folder contains two nodes. So this is not parent node, not child node, but this is basically, I'm trying to kind of like group nodes that could be kind of like related. And it's easier to look at my conversation structure because I can collapse this, right? I can expand and collapse. So here, whenever it triggers, whenever explain intent gets triggered, right? The execution goes into this folder. Right? Explain. Then it's checking what explain what's an entity. Is it a topic, value BMI, or if it's a topic, value blood pressure? Now, pay attention here. Blood pressure, it's in parentheses. And the reason is because there is a space, right? So basically the entity itself cannot contain the spaces, but the examples can. See this? So if it's recognizing the blood pressure, right? So see, this topic is an entity, right? And this is well, actually this is a value, right? Entity value, topic, blood pressure, see this? So the syntax is add, and then here is the entity, and this is the value, right? Blood pressure, see this? So if it's recognizing the explain intent and the blood pressure entity, right? Topic blood pressure rather, sorry, then this is gonna do this. It's gonna show this text and it's gonna show this image. That's what it's doing. After that, I want to go to the main menu. All right, evaluate response. So there is a node called main menu. This is where it's gonna go. In here, oops, this is a node. Oops, I got an error, not sure why. Okay, anyway, this is what it's gonna go. It's gonna go to, hold on, main menu, evaluate responses. Okay, so it shows where let me click on this. Oh, there we go, it's gonna go in here. Evaluate responses is this. So it's gonna show me the menu again. I'm gonna go back to the menu, okay? This is what's going to happen. Now, well, basically the reason it's going to show evaluate responses is because it doesn't. I don't need to set this date anymore, right? I already have it set. So it's gonna go here. After it displays the information that I want, then I'm gonna see the menu again. What I want to do next. Well, something like that. So here, this one is a blood pressure readings, right? This is the blood pressure readings. But what I wanted to do is, well, here, well, this is called the slot. The purpose of the slot is to, the purpose of the slot is to collect information. And see that this one is estimate BMI. Not show this because in this one I have two handlers. So basically, I want you to force you to enter height, and I want to force you to enter the weight, right? I want to make it required. So what I have to do is this. I have to go to customize, and I have to turn on the slots, right? So basically, what it's doing is that whenever the BMI intent is true, it's gonna ask if my input has a number. Check for this number. Oops, this number. What is this number? It's a system entity, right? This number is a system entity. It's gonna check if user input contains a number. If it is, it's gonna save it in a variable called height. Otherwise, it's gonna ask you what is the height, right? So if I click here, I can see more the configuration, because sometimes you want to paraphrase, right? I should have added response variation. Like, what is your height in inches? How tall are you in inches? Because we don't want the chatbot to be turned into a parrot, right? And here, well, this one, it just tells what to do if the number is recognized, and what if the number is not recognized. You can do more advanced. But in my case, I wanted to go to the second slot. I wanted to ask you about the weight, right? So in here, I'm gonna check for this number in the input, and I'm gonna save it in a variable called weight. And here I'm gonna, ask how many pounds, and it's required, okay? And here is the configuration again. Now, Suppose that I'm in the middle of this, and then suddenly I have to exit. There is something called handler. Handler allows you to step away from the conversation flow. So in my case, I have two handlers. I want to do goodbye, right? So for instance, I want to quit, or I got confused. I want the chatbot to explain to me I want the chatbot to explain to me what's going on, right? What is body mass index? What the chatbot is asking about. So if I say goodbye, then it's gonna do this. I'm going to this is what I'm doing in here. I'm setting both variables to -1. I'm using this as a flag, okay? I'm setting it to -1, and then I'm gonna do this one. See this assistant response with goodbye, and then I'm gonna skip the response. I'm gonna skip to the response of the main node, right? I'm not gonna do any calculation. I want to skip the response. So here I'm using the dummy values, -1, it's just a dummy, okay? If I want to quit, I'm setting this to the dummy, -1. So let's close this out. And for the, yeah, so that's a goodbye. And for the explain, it's gonna do, well, oh, for explain, it's just gonna put this text into the screen, right? And then it's gonna ask you again. It's gonna prompt you again to enter. See this prompt again. So whenever I type the word explain, this is a text that I'm gonna see, and then I'm gonna be asked to re-enter, right? I'm gonna be asked to re-enter wherever I was in, on a height or the weight, okay? After I do that, this is what it's gonna do for the response. Here, it's gonna do the if assistant recognizes. So here, this is a calculation. So let me click here. This is a calculation. If weight times 703 divided by height squared, if it's less than 18.5, right? Or if it's greater than 0, right? If it's between 0 and 18.5, so do this response, right? You're underweight. So see here now, this is how you put the output the calculation result. You have to put bracket question mark, and this is the how you calculate it. See this? You have to use the question mark and brackets to output the calculation result. All right? It's just the syntax. And this is the response 1, right? And then you want to jump to the main menu. You want to jump to the main menu again, okay? Now what I'll do, I'll just close this out, and over here, anything else, well, in this case, if it's -1, right, then remember when I wanted to quit, right? When I wanted to quit, I set to -1, right? So that's it's going to be caught in here. So I did not receive the what I wanted to, right? And then it's going to be we're quitting. This is I set it to dummy -1. Or sometimes you could be entering something that's totally out of range, like a negative number. Anything else that might fall in here also, right? Anything else means that something that does not fall into the condition, any of the conditions specified above, right? Okay, so you see that, right? But wait, here this is says, okay, finally jump. And where does it jump? Oh, it jumps to main menu. Okay, got it. Okay, now, but what I'm doing in here, this is if, oh, wait, this is a blood pressure, right? This is a BMI. Oh, here, this is a menu that I want to show. I want to show different menu. I don't want to show the estimate BMI option. So it's just slightly different menu, okay? And it will just go in here after estimate BMI. It will go in here, unless I specified, here, if I don't specify where to jump to, If I don't specify where to jump to, then it's gonna go to the child node next, right? Because I want to show slightly different menu. I want to not show the estimate BMI again. That's what it was. Well, it's not the right way to do it. In theory, there should be a way to track which nodes were visited, but it's way advanced and beyond the scope. All right, and my blood pressure readings is done something similarly, okay? Something similarly, but what I did not do is that I did not add the handlers to that node. I should be able to exit at any time. When a chatbot is tested, your user should be able to quit at any time, okay? So, and anything else, I customize it too, because, well, anything else, I'm just gonna say I did not get your meaning. That's what it is. It's a default. So when I enter something that's not recognized, none of this gets triggered. The flow is gonna go to anything else. So let's see. Here I'm just spelling out how this is configured, right? So here I'm showing you different response types. Well, I'm using in this implementation, I use text, image, and the option. There is also pause. Okay, sometimes when you need to display a lot of information, you want to show some pause and then show more, right? This is the option. Basically, in the first column, label is what you see, what gets displayed in the dialog, and this is the actual intent that would get triggered, okay? Now here, well, this is showing you that it's how it's storing the blood pressure in this case, right? It's gonna read the number from the user input and store it into the variable. Number could be numeric or it could be spelled, like I showed you before, right? Well, and this is what you're gonna do to troubleshoot it. I need to show you this. Do you see this little window? Try it. That's one way to test your chatbot in the development, right? So if I click on Manage Contest, see this? Well, for some unknown reason, it thinks that I'm in a Pacific time zone. I'm in Eastern time zone. It has to do with the computer setting. And today is Wednesday. Remember where this gets set? It's in a welcome node. I'm setting the date variable, right? Remember that if I go to the dialog, let's close this out and see this is a welcome node. And I set the context variable to the today's date, right? Oh, I have to do this. If you go in here, there is something called, oh, it's in a I see. It's in the menu. It's in here. See this day? Well, that's what it's doing. It's reading the day, and this is what I see here, right? So I'm gonna close this. Let's go back. So now suppose that I want to do, well, just an example, estimate BMI, right? See this? Now it's not recognizing the number in the input yet because I have not entered, right? And I'm gonna put my height. Oops, I have to enter it here. Like 59, it's gonna recognize the number. Okay. Now watch. I go to manage context and see that this is a height. Well, and it has a number, so I know that it's working as expected, right? Well, this is gonna be your friend. Try it window. So I know so far so good. Now, how many pounds you weigh? Let me type something silly, such as, is this a number? No. All right, it tells me enter your weight in pounds because it could not read the number from the input, right? So I'm gonna put my weight, right? That's it. And then it's gonna give me your BMI is 23. You have a healthy weight. Well, that's good. Now it's asking what you want to do next. And I could do that, but notice that it's still sitting in here. Jesus, it's still saved. I did not clear it. All right, so now I'm gonna enter my email address and intentionally, I'm gonna do this intentionally. XYZ, see this, it's asking me to enter email address again because it's not recognizing it. And yes, we need to take a look at that node. there is node called email me. And if you look at it, this is what it's doing. It triggered when the intent email me is recognized. And here it's checking in the input, it's checking for the it's checking for the presence of this entity, right? And it's saving into the variable called email. See this? It's checking if the entity is recognized in the input, and there is only one value, right? Remember, there is a pattern. So let's click on this gear and see what's gonna see this email, right? It's checking for it. Or if you don't specify, if you specify invalid email, what it's gonna do is it's gonna ask you to do what? To re-enter it, right? So that is what it's doing here. So not email me. Oh, okay, but there should be, oh, hold on, there should be a response. Nope, okay. Anyhow, oh, if found, it's in here. You have to scroll down. Oh, it's not. Okay. Okay, this is a slot. You have to be looking at the response in a node, not in a slot. Now I have to close this out. See this email me? It has one response. The node has one response, but to see that I have to close this and I have to open email me. Come on. Now I can do that. Now I can see it. See this? This is what you do. You set the context. You said, see, this is how you do. You have to set the context to this. This is important. Email.literal. Okay, this is what you do. So here you have to check for the email, right? You want to make sure that the correct email is found in the input. And if it is, then you want to set the variable, right, email to this. And why is it literal? That's because it's a pattern entity. This is not a regular user entity. It's not, this is a pattern user entity, right? Remember, we put regular expression, so it has to be like this. Important, right? And then here, I want to output, right? I want to echo the email address. So this is what I do here. This will show what's stored in a variable. Okay. This will show what's stored in a variable. Okay. So yeah, so this is how you access it. You put the $sign in this. So it will output whatever email was entered, but it's only if the email was valid. Only if the email was valid, right? Now go back, see this? Well, now I'm gonna enter my correct email, right? Well, it's not gonna check if my email exists, but it's gonna check if it matches the pattern. And if it does, then see this, it echoes. How does it do it? It created another variable. Look at this. If I look at the manage context, I have this variable email, right? So this is how you test yourself, okay? So this is a development process. You want to be done, you have to be done with this development process at least 2 days before the class ends, right? So here I spelled it out for you how to configure the email, right? So those are the this is how I get the day stored. This is a conditional responses in a goodbye note, right? So here I'm showing you what I'm doing. I put a folder. Well, this is what I just showed you, how it's recognizing the numbers in the input. See this? Whatever you enter, right? It's showing you the intent that it's recognizing. Like, see, like here, it recognizes that I want to look at the BMI, right? When I enter the number, it's recognizing that the system entity number 60 in this case, right? Well, irrelevant, it's because there's no intent, right? There's no intent in the input, which is okay, which is fine in this case. Here is another one. I just put this for you. So, so that way you have it on the slides. Now, our next step would be to build an assistant, virtual assistant. Well, I'm going to show you how to do it, but now I'm going to use the different example. This is what you're going to do. See this tab? Okay. Oh, one more thing I forgot to show you is this. As you're working on it, and if you want to redo the test, you have to click on this and you have to do clear. When you clear the contest, you're retesting it again. You have to clear the contest variables when you want to retest it. Also, if you made some changes, sometimes you may see a note, something like training. If you see that note, then you have to wait for the chatbot to train itself. Okay, so here is an assistant. This is what you're gonna do in your assignment. You're gonna do create assistant, and then you're gonna name it, right? Whatever you want the name to be descriptive, right? I'm just gonna create an assistant for the Mr. Call chatbot since I haven't created it. Then you can put some description if you like. Here you want to enable the preview link, and then you're gonna do create assistant, right? This is what you're gonna do. Then over here you can click on the preview. Oh wait, not yet, not yet, not yet. I did not add the skill. So you have to do this, and you're gonna add the dialog skill. And then here you're going to pick your existing skills, like for instance, call symptoms check, right? That's it. That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna create new, and then you're gonna add the skill to it. And here you're gonna click on the preview link, and this is the link that you're gonna share with your relatives and friends, right? So this is the link that you're gonna share with relatives and friends. All right, makes sense? So now, how would you access that link again? So see here, these are my assistants, right? And this is what I created for you for today's demo. It has a skill, one skill, right? I would need to click here. This is a skill. Here is a preview link. And this is a link that I need to give to TA, friends, etc. You also include it in the paper, please. Okay, so well, this is what your friends get, right? Well, they have to run this experiment. Try to type something unexpected. Perhaps instead of exit, type adios, or type or something like that, or like see you later, things like that. Try to type something that is not already trained. Well, more likely it's gonna happen because everyone has different way to phrase the same sentence. The same sentence can be phrased differently depending on your background, etc. Okay, so well, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna give this link. Your family or friends or TA is gonna run this. Then you're gonna look at the log, and I'll show you how to do that. You're gonna make some adjustments to classifications, entities classifications, entities and intents. Then you're gonna ask your friends or your participants to rerun it again, and then you're gonna look at the statistics again and compare day 1 versus day 2. And then you're also gonna say, okay, suppose that I'm going to run it for 1 more day. What I'm gonna do to improve further? What am I doing? See what I'm saying? So like, well, here, this is just the steps to add the dialogue skills. This is what I just did. This is the preview link. This is the link that you're gonna give. Now, well, this is the steps in the experiment, okay? You have to share that link. Your participants could be, you could use Professor too if you like. You can do with several friends, right? Or it could be your family members or TA, you share that. Then ask them to run 3 to 4 conversations per day. Then at the end of the day, you go in and I'll show you what you need to check. You're gonna take some screenshots and you're gonna take notes and you're gonna make adjustments, right? Take note on which entities and intents get hit the most, right? Because it's important. Then you repeat the experiment on the second day. Well, if you don't need to make any adjustments, that's fine, but you have to explain why. Then you want to check, after you made an adjustment, are there any differences in relevancy of responses, right? Are there any differences in the top intents and top entities? And then you want to share your findings in the papers, and pretend that you're gonna run the third day, what you're gonna do to enhance further, right? What you're gonna do to train. So this is how it looks like, and I'll show you. If you're gonna watch some of the videos on YouTube, you'll notice that the interface was recently updated. So I had to update all these slides, but just keep in mind that this application is being updated. The button could be located in a slightly different area, but it's the same functionality. So here it is. I'm gonna go to skills, and in this case, the MIST PMI Health Center. See this is analysis, and this is the overview. Now, what I see here is going to be different from ones on the screenshot, of course, because I just ran several conversations. This is a time interval, which is this week, right? November 18. See this? And I'm looking at the day. Yep, let me see. I have something in the chat. Does the link actually incur changes? Yes, it does. Yes, well, when you change the implementation, yes. Yep, exactly. Excellent question, Jim. I like this question. Yes, whenever you make a changement, whenever you change it, yes, it will be reflected on the link. Yes, provided that it's the same version. I'll have to show it because here you can save the versions. Okay, you can save versions. But if you made a change to the version that is currently selected as an under development, right, then yes, it will incur changes. The changes that you made will propagate, so to speak, to the link. Yes. So that's a reason, that's the main reason this experiment will make sense. So here it is. Oops, I have to go back to the skill, and then I'm gonna click on this, right? So here it is. See this version development? So this is the version that actually shows. But if I wanted to, I could back up this version. See what I'm saying? So you need to pay attention which version are you editing. So this one, right? This is the version that is in a assistant. So I should be good here. So now I'm clicking on analytics. See this? It shows me total number of conversations during this time period. And you want to be looking by day. And this is the average number of messages in the conversation, maximum conversation per day. And this is a week understanding, week March. Okay, let me see. Okay, that was, okay. So what is this one? Oh, I'm sorry, what was it? It was charges, and no, it does not charge me. No, it's not gonna charge me because there is a certain number of API calls that are free, and this is good enough. So the number of API calls that I have is enough for a month. So you're not gonna be doing something, yes. Okay, no problem. Don't worry about this. Don't worry, because I did not. The good news are that I did not put the credit card in, so they cannot charge me. All right. Anyhow, so here, this is a plot, number of conversations per day, okay? And this is the average message per conversation, okay? So those are just the statistics, and here, well, here it is. See this? It shows me what was hit the most. In this case, it's a goodbye, explain, and blood pressures, and I can click on this, and it will take me actually to the, user conversation. Conversations where that intent was hit, okay? So I'm gonna go back to the overview, and I think for these entities, it can also show you the values. See the system number, okay? And see this? It's showing me the values that were entered and in which conversations, right? So I'm gonna go back to overview. You see this weak understanding. I can click on the logs, and I can see what actually was. I can open this conversation, and I can see what it was. Please enter your email address. And then here, well, it shows as irrelevant. See this? Yelena at yelena.com. See this may have been a problem. Then you look at the classification, and yeah, looks like it found it. It thinks it's a valid email. Well, so basically you look at this, and if something was misclassified, you can change it. Like for example, if instead of email me, if the identified intent was BMI, then you can click on a pencil and you can select the correct intent. See, you can train it. You can select the correct intent. See this? If the recognized intent was incorrect, you can go in here and select the correct one. And well, this is the whole purpose. This is what you want to do in the adjustments. So you want to check if any of the intent got identified incorrectly, right? Yeah. So here, well, in this case, no entities were recognized, and it says it thinks it's irrelevant. Well, for some unknown reason. Let's close this. And yes, whenever you update it, the users, your testers will see an updated chatbot, right? I can do this, or I can also click here, user conversations, and it's going to show me all conversations that I had. Those are all conversations that we had, including what we did today, okay? Including what we did today. And this is what I was doing to generate I was trying to generate see, this is an example. I typed nothing. Well, this is irrelevant, right? Look, I typed nothing. Intent that was identified is irrelevant, right? So instead of irrelevant, if I type nothing, more likely the intent should be goodbye, right? Instead of I don't understand, what can I help you with? If I put nothing, then it should be classified as a goodbye, shouldn't it? So what I could do is I could click here, and then I could just change this. I could change this as a goodbye, right? I can change it as a goodbye, and then I can save it, right? I save it. Next time, when I type nothing, it's gonna think that I want to exit. So see this, I trained it. So right now, if I go back to assistant, right? Then in this case, it's Elena Health Center. I go back here. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to click on that link, right? Elena's Health Center. And when I click on this link, preview link now, I'm opening up this guy here, right? Or you can just copy and paste the link, select an option, and I'm just gonna type nothing. It's gonna think that I want to, oh, it still says I don't understand. Well, because it's still training, right? I have to take a look, but in general, see this? It says I don't understand, can you try rephrasing? So now, look at this, I'm gonna go back here, and this conversation will appear in here, see this? Now I'm gonna go into this is my scale, and I'm gonna go to analytics, and I'm gonna go to this one. I'm gonna go to the conversations. So see this? I typed nothing, right? Well, do you see this? This is showing as irrelevant, which is not what I want, right? I want this to be goodbye. So whenever I type nothing, I want to do this, goodbye. Where is that? Goodbye, and now I'm gonna do the save. I don't think I saved it before. I made changes, but I did not save it. That's what it is. Okay, I did not save it. So see, right now it's saved. If I type nothing, it's the same thing as a goodbye, right? So close this out, go back, and this is going to be the day 2, right? This is a day 2. The user is going to run. This is a preview link. This is what's going to happen on the day 2. And I'm going to type nothing. It should pick up. See this? Yeah. So basically what I did was I just trained my chatbot. I want nothing to be added as an exam, I want nothing to be as the same thing as a goodbye. So now if I go back to my skill, let me see let me show you what it did. So I'm gonna go back to the skills, and this is my skill. And when I go to the goodbye intent, it added nothing to the list of the examples. See this? Well, what it did was nothing was added to the list of examples. This is how I trained it. So on my second day, my tester runs it, and the word nothing is recognized as a goodbye, right? So how can I help you? When you pick nothing, it's the same thing as a goodbye, right? So hopefully it makes sense. I hope it makes sense, right? So then you can look at specific conversations. And now it's time for questions, right? While you're thinking about questions, oh, I forgot to tell you something. In here, what I was doing was for the blood pressure information, I'm hard coding stuff, right? I'm actually entering what to say. Another way to do that would be, but this is advanced and this is conceptual in this case, we could integrate Watson Assistant with another service where we store the documentation about the blood pressure. Then Watson Assistant could go in to the document repository in that service and search for the answers, right? So that's an integration, right? There is a service where you can document discovery, I believe. You can store the documents about the blood pressure, right? You don't need to hard code the answers. It will go and search the document. Also, perhaps I want this application to be available on a mobile device, and perhaps I want to be able to speak, right? I want to be able to say what my blood pressure is. So there we go, you've got speech to text, right? Well, I can make things up easily. Okay, so will the PowerPoint deck be available? Yes, you will have, this is what's gonna happen. After this, whenever I receive the recording, right, you're gonna get the recording, you're gonna get the PowerPoint slides, and you're also gonna get the file, the JSON file, because when you, after this, what you're gonna do, when you watch the recording, you can import this skill into your application. See, the reason we're using, see, the service type, the service plans that we're using, you might have up to, I believe it's like 20 skills, something like that, yeah. So in order to use the plans that you are told to use, you need to use an account where you put your promo code, right? It's not available on a light account, because if you're using the light account, you're limited only to 5 skills, but here you may have up to 20 skills in this one. You may save versions, and you may experiment with advanced stuff that you see in the videos. It's not required, but after the class is over, some of you might want to, you have access to content for 4 months, and you're still gonna have this access to your account. Speaking of which, later in December, get another code, apply another code, you get 6 more months, because some of you may want to use the IBM Cloud applications for your next class. So yeah, get another 6 months of free access by applying the new code, right? So let's see. Okay, yes, sure, yes, you're gonna have the slides, you're gonna have this file, and just keep in mind this is advanced. The examples we did today are advanced, and the secret is when I make a change, one change, I had to retest everything. So this was, I started with a simple example, just getting the numbers. It was not that complex, and then every semester I ended up adding to it. So that's me. Additional enhancement you could make is that you saw how it was asking you to re-enter the blood pressure reading, right? If you enter the invalid number, it was asking you to re-enter. You can also add a counter, and if I fail to enter the number on a third attempt, perhaps it will exit. You can do it this way too. You can add a counter, right? So that's another enhancement. Then I could say, okay, I could allow different metric units. The user may specify a metric unit and I do the, adjust the calculation accordingly, right? But for the integration with other services, a good example would be to store the frequently asked questions in the repository and use something they call it webhooks in a video. There are several videos in a classroom. Those are brand new videos were released this fall. So take a look at that. And it's discussing how to integrate the document discovery service with this. So take a look at those videos in the course content. You're gonna like them, okay? Well, after the class ends, you have access. You may actually try to see if you're able to get it to work. But first, think first, assignment first. Discuss it conceptually. Yeah, but I mean, but Gopati and lineage, is there anything you would like to say? Well, I like the instructors to say anything that they think it's important. And lineage. Gopati? Is Gopati still here? No? No? Lineage? Are you still here? Lineage? Lineage, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm here. No, I think you pretty much covered in details. So I think we're good.
So no, I wanted to make sure because like yeah. Any input from you is valuable too because well, all right. So does anybody have questions? Well, what we covered today, it's a lot, and you can go even more in depth, and you wouldn't even imagine how. Like here, I was asking for one thing at a time, or you could prompt the user to enter both blood pressure readings. It could get very complicated. So let's keep it not as complex for this course because you've got like week and a half remaining. Okay. So let me see something in the chat. Oh, okay, no problem. Thank you so much. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna stop the recording, and then whenever I get the recording, because it takes a little bit of time to convert, then I'm gonna post it. So stop the recording.